Hi there, Jeep owners. Today in your 2019 Jeep Renegade, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install CURT's Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver. And this is what our hitch looks like when it's installed. You are going to be able to see the Crosstube and the receiver as it does all hang down below. It's a Class 3 2-inch by 2-inch receiver, so it's going to be great for all of your towing needs. Whether you're wanting to load it up with a bike rack and take some bikes to the trail, or if you're wanting to pull a boat and head to the lake, you should be able to do so. Our hitch is going to use a 5/8 hitch pin and clip. Now, one doesn't come included with the hitch, but we've got plenty available here at etrailer.com. On bottom, we've got plate-style safety chain loops. That has a moderate size opening that should accept most size safety chains. This hitch offers a 525-pound tongue weight, which is the force going down on top of our receiver. And that's going to be more than enough for a 4-bike platform rack fully loaded up with 4 bikes. You can also use the largest cargo carrier, but you won't be able to load it up all the way to the max, but you should be able to get very close to it. It also features a 3,500-pound gross towing capacity, which is how much they can pull behind it. And that's going to be enough if you've got a small boat you want to take with you, or maybe a pop-up camper. You should be able to with the hitch here. Now, as always, I recommend you verify in your vehicle's owner's manual and ensure that you don't exceed any of its towing capacities. Now I've got some measurements for you to help you when deciding on accessories. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, it measures about 6 inches. This is important when determining if any of your folding accessories can be placed in the upright storage position without contacting the bumper. And from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube, it measures about 11 inches. And this is important when determining if you need to drop, a rise, or a raised shank on any of your accessories. And since this one does sit so low, I highly recommend a raised shank on your accessories. Now that we've gone over some of the features of our hitch, why don't you follow along with us in the shop, and we'll install it together so you can have the confidence to do it at home. We'll begin our installation underneath the vehicle. There are some rubber plugs inside the holes that we're going to be using to feed our hardware in, so we're going to need to remove those. There's 3 on each side. You can see our rubber plug here at the farthest rear of the vehicle. We're going to remove that one. It just pulls out of there. And then if we wrap around the side of the frame, it's kind of hard to see due to these covers here, but you can stick your hand up there and you can feel them. There's one about right here, just in front of our bracket that holds our exhaust up. I'm just going to pull that one out. And then just behind this, there's another one right here. We're going to pull that one out as well. And then we want to make sure we do this over on the other side of the vehicle. The rearmost hole here is going to be our access hole. We need to feed our spacers and our hardware up into it, but you can see it's not going to fit right now. So what we're going to need to do is just enlarge this hole. You can either do that with a step bit to drill it out to make it larger, or you can just put some notches in it, which is what we're going to do. We're going to use a little grinding bit. We're going to notch the sides out to allow everything to fit in. This is going to take a little bit, as it is kind of thick metal, so just kind of work at it until you get your hardware to where it passes up in there. Don't pass your hardware all the way up in, just make sure it's going to fit and then pull it right back out. So now that we've got that large enough that our hardware will fit up in there, we can easily slide the bolts as well as our spacers up in there. We need to start fish wiring our hardware into position. You'll get some coiled wires in your kit, and we're going to take the coiled end. We're going to start with the forwardmost hole here on the side. We're going to go in. We're then going to feed this towards the rear, and then we can reach up in here and pull this back down through the hole. Once you've got your coiled end pulled down, we're going to slide a spacer over the coiled end, and we're going to feed, and then we're going to thread on a carriage bolt into the coiled end. We'll then feed our spacer up first, and then our bolt, because I found with this, to keep from having to grind the hole too large, it's easier to feed the head in first, kind of like that, because you can do it at an angle. And then we're just going to pull our fish wire until it comes out the hole. We'll then repeat that for the other hole on this side, and then we're going to use our reverse fish wire technique here. I'll show you that in just a moment when I get this other one fed in. Now for our reverse fish wire technique, we're going to take our coiled end here, slide our spacer on it, then take our bolt, thread it onto the coiled end. Then we'll put the bolt inside the frame. Kind of feed that a little bit towards the front. Then we'll take our spacer, feed that inside the frame. and then we can just pull our bolt back down through the hole. We can now repeat this same procedure over on the other side to get the 3 bolts fed in on that side. Now on the side of our frame, you may have a large amount of caulk on there, and you can see it here, it's built up pretty big. We're just going to take a razor knife and just clean some of that off of there, because that can get in the way of our hitch when we're going to put it up and make it very difficult. So just cleaning this up and making it a little smoother is going to make raising it into position much easier. You'll want to check your other side and clean that side up as well if it's got excessive caulk. Now with an extra set of hands, we're going to start lifting our hitch into position. You'll want to feed the fish wires down with the holes that match up with their location. So we're going to make sure we've got the one towards the rear of the vehicle in the hole furthest towards the rear. And then the one that's furthest towards the front, we're going to put that in the hole furthest towards the front. And then we can lift it up once we've got everything fed in. You are going to have to work it around the exhaust clamp, and also make sure that your fish wires don't get hung up on there. Once you've got it lifted up, you can either pull the fish wires from the side to get them through, or you can also just take this bottom bolt that's fed down through, and this one's going to get a spacer, and then after the spacer, we're going to put a flange nut on it. And once you've got one on each side, the hitch will hold itself up, making it easier to install the rest of your hardware. Now we can reach up in here and pull our fish wires to where our side bolts come through, just like that. We're going to do that with both of them. And once you've got those slid through, you can just pull off your coiled wire and then thread on a flange nut. You want to be careful not to push the bolts back into the frame because they can be difficult to get back through at this point. And then we'll do the same thing over on the other side. On your driver's side, there is an access panel we can remove to make things a little bit easier. You can see here that clearance is even tighter, so we're not going to really be able to get our hands up in there. But there's this panel here, so if we'll just take a Phillips, you can use a stubby little screwdriver or a small ratchet like this with a bit to remove these 2 Phillips screws, and then this cover's just going to come right out of here. These screws are just like push pins, so when you remove the center, the whole pin will just come out of there. Just like that. And then just pull these sides through as well. We can then go back and tighten down all of our hardware using a 19mm socket. Now that everything's tightened down, we can go back and torque our hardware to the specifications outlined in our instructions. Now that we've got everything tightened and torqued, we can go ahead and put our side panel back in place. It just clips right in, and then you can push these in. And a lot of times with these, you don't even have to use a screwdriver to tighten it back down. You can usually just push the center tab back in place. But it's not always the case. This one there pushed in, but this one's pretty stiff, so I'll have to screw that one in. And that completes our installation of CURT's Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver on our 2019 Jeep Renegade.